Inside the great hall, Hermione looked around for the guests staying at the castle. Tonks and Ace were seated at the Hufflepuff table, chatting away while the doctor sat at the Gryffindor table across the aisle from Ace. With one hand, he spooned his breakfast into his mouth and used the other to turn pages of one of the books Hermione had recommended. Judging by the lack of anyone sitting even remotely near him, she guessed he was having that horrid lung-barrow porridge again. She decided to talk with him after his bowl had been whisked away to the kitchen to be cleaned. As the founder for the Society for the Promotion of Elfish Welfare, she felt terrible for whatever poor elf had to scrub that particular vessel. Hermione took her customary seat at the table next to Harry and across from Ron and began to eat. In between bites of her toast and fruit, she glanced at the doctor from time to time. As usual, Harry and Ron were oblivious to the subtle observations made by a member of the opposite sex. Ginny, not being burdened with a Y chromosome, picked up on it immediately and had to duck her head down to keep Hermione from seeing her huge grin. The great hall became quieter as Professor Dumbledore stepped up to the golden podium just in front of the faculty table. He waited until all eyes were on him before speaking.
As you are all quite aware, dark days have fallen upon the wizarding world. It seems as though everywhere we look, another depressing event is looming, or has just occurred, he reminded everyone. It is with that in mind that the staff and I have decided to shout in the face of this darkness and schedule a few things for you students to look forward to with happy anticipation, he told them. Before the start of the school year, we were forced to cancel the annual History of Magic field trip for the 5th and 6th year students. Now that we have aurors of incredible talent staying with us as guests, the Ministry of Magics has consented to allow the field trips, so long as at least one of the aurors travels with each group of students, he explained. While the other students were whispering to each other excitedly, Hermione looked over at the doctor to see what his reaction would be. An involuntary laugh forced its way out of her when she saw the doctor looked more excited at the prospect of an outing than the students did. Even though he was somewhat miffed at Dumbledore for not running this past him, the doctor made eye contact with the headmaster and nodded. Professor Dumbledore nodded back and waited for the murmurs to die down before continuing. We have chosen 2 sites full of magical mystery for the students to explore this year. As the 5th year students are currently studying recent magical history, they will be visiting the famous Faringham Scarecrow. The 6th year students will get to experience Stonehenge firsthand, he announced. The doctor leaned across the aisle and tapped Ace on the shoulder. If it's all right with you, I would prefer to escort the group going to Stonehenge. I already know all there is to know about the Scarecrow, he told her. Now, I understand the second event we have planned may indeed strike terror in even some of the bravest souls at our school. But I still think it is an excellent idea. Professor McGonagall, would you be so kind as to tell our students what we have planned? Dumbledore requested. Professor McGonagall made her way around the table and up to the podium.
We have decided to add a costume ball to our Halloween festivities this year. As this will not be a formal ball, I suggested to our headmaster that we try a tradition our friends across the Atlantic seem fond of. They call it a Sadie Hawkins dance, she told the students. This is a type of dance where it becomes the responsibility of the girls to ask the boys to be their partners for the evening. I think it is high time you girls show the boys how it should be done, so that perhaps they will learn the proper way of doing it,
she said hopefully, before relinquishing the podium back to Professor Dumbledore.
Thank you, Professor McGonagall, he said graciously. That is all the news I have for you this morning. Please enjoy breakfast and the rest of your day, he had admonished cheerfully.
As soon as breakfast was over, Harry, Ron, and Hermione got up to head to their first class. The hairs on the back of Harry's head stood up, making him pause. He looked around the room for any sign of danger. What he saw made him feel like a golden snitch dropped into the middle of a secret convention. Ron sensed his friend's fear and looked around the room as well.
Bloody hell! You're on your own for this one, mate, he muttered.
Harry spared a quick glance at Ron, who was walking backwards slowly so as not to attract the attention of the Harry-infatuated girls circling the great hall.
Coward!
He hissed at Ron under his breath. he quickly returned his attention to the girls making their way ever closer to him. Plastering a fake smile on his face, he desperately looked around for either the one girl he hoped would ask him to the dance, or a means of a quick escape. He took a protective step backwards when the girl he was looking for was nowhere to be seen. Harry's fears were soon calmed when the girl in question showed off her skills as one of Gryffindor's most talented chasers, never once taking her eyes off her intended target. The fact that she wasn't on her broomstick, or anywhere near the Quidditch pitch, made no difference to Ginevra Weasley. Growing up with Ron had taught her that if she wanted something, she had to be the first one there, especially if one was talking about desserts. She started at the back of the room, and before the other girls could react, several found themselves pushed out of the way as a red-headed missile plowed through their midst. Ginny stopped a few feet away from Harry and turned to look at the other girls. The warning look she gave them made them all remember why the Gryffindor mascot was a lion. When she was sure her message had gotten across, she turned to face Harry.
"Hi, Harry,"
Ginny said with a smile of pure innocence, even though she might have just sent at least one girl to the hospital wing on her dash to be the first to ask Harry to the dance.
"Would you like to come with me to the Halloween ball?"
she inquired. Harry was torn, not sure what to say. On one hand, he wanted more than anything to go to the ball with Ginny. But on the other, her older brother, who was also his best friend, was standing right behind him. Harry remembered how angry Ron had become when he caught Ginny and Dean snogging. He stammered lamely. Ron leaned over to Harry and whispered in his ear, "I know it's just Ginny, but if you say yes, it will keep those other mental harpies off your back," he suggested. While Ron couldn't see the huge smile that had spread across Harry's face, Ginny could, and she blushed as she read his expression correctly. "I would love to go with you. Thanks for being the first to ask me," Harry told her. Ron sighed in relief. "Thanks, mate. She gets a bit violent when she's upset. When her last pet died, she slammed a door into my face so hard, it took Mom 3 times with a wand to make the bleeding stop," Ron whispered. "I owe you one," he told his friend. Still grinning like an idiot, Harry replied, "No problem, Ron. What are friends for?" Hermione rolled her eyes at Ron's oblivious nature. Ever since the whole Chamber of Secrets episode, Hermione, and just about everyone else but Ron, had known that Harry and Ginny were destined to be together. She looked over at the doctor, who was watching things with a bemused smile.
"Now if I can only figure out a way to ask him, maybe we can double date,"
she contemplated. She had no idea that Tonks was determined to make sure the Black Cat went to the ball with Hermione.